Young world. So, but complex. Bring your ass down to the front of the goddamn classroom with this goddamn 50 rapper New York of all time best rappers list. I ain't even gonna get all worked up and get all into it. That's why I think a lot of these lists are even put out just to cause up controversy, knowing that jokers like me are gonna, of course, have a problem with it. And of course, and like I said before, these lists, when you got people like me, older people that grew up in the hip hop from day one, and I ain't gonna say I'm the most biggest hip hop head there is, you know what I'm saying? But I definitely at one point I knew damn near. I ain't gonna say everything. So I hear certain people talk. They be talking about the Furious 1 and plus 10 and all that. Some of these jokers I ain't never heard of. I ain't gonna even sit here and lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Some of these jokers I ain't never even heard of. But for the most part, I always consider myself I always had a decent knowledge of hip hop history. But throughout the years, my memory has, you know what I'm saying, started. I don't got the memory I used to have. Then also, my memory has not been great since I caught COVID 2 years ago. So that's a whole different story. But that being said, I'm still of a certain age. I'm still of a certain era, a certain background. So of course, I'm gonna have certain problems with these goddamn lists all the time, no matter what. So I'm not gonna get into every little crevice and we could be here all day if I really break down the whole entire list. I'm gonna just say the three things that really disqualify this list for me. You know what I'm saying? Just automatically disqualify it for me. One thing I will say is that the top 10 rappers, at least I'll say I'll give them this much. All the rappers in the top 10, five of those rappers are in my top five. So I'll give them that much. You know what I'm saying? They got that right as far as I'm concerned. Five of the rappers in their top 10 are in my top five. So that part I'll say is I'll give them that. You know what I'm saying? But this is the three things they messed up on, the three people who they got wrong to me as far as I'm concerned, and this disqualifies everything for me right from the door. Number three, when you talk about some of the best verses in hip hop from New York, and this is this list is based on rappers from New York, so I'm saying from New York, but I'm talking about when you consider some of the top 10, some arguably, I'm saying two of these people I'm about to talk about have two of the top 10 verses ever in hip hop. One, AZ on Life's a Bitch with Nas. Life's a Bitch, Then You Die. AZ's verse on there is probably, I'm going to say, one of the top 10 verses ever in hip hop. Visualizing the realism in life and actuality, fuck who's the baddest, a person status, a pencil salary, and my that shit. Top 10 fucking verse in hip hop. Top 10 verse, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, that's a top 10 verse in hip hop. I'm going to say it right now. I'm stamping that. That's a top 10 verse in hip hop history from day one to today. Top 10 verse. AZ, Life's a Bitch. Fuck was the baddest, a person status, the pencil salary, and my mentality is money orientated. I'm destined to live my dream for all my peeps who never made it. Cause yeah, we were beginners in the hood as 5%ers, but that shit. Top 10 verse. So just based on that alone, just because that's a top 10 verse and he's the person that brought that top 10 verse in hip hop, it don't matter what he did before that or after that, he should be on his list. Even if he was number 50, he should be on his list. Just based on that alone. We talking about 50. We ain't talking about top 10 people, rappers of all time. I can understand if he's not on the top 10 rappers from New York of all time list just for a verse. But you talk about 50 jokers, he should be on his goddamn list. AZ, just with that verse alone, solidifies him. The second person with the verse, number two, another top 10 verse in the hip hop history. And a bunch of his group mates are on here. I don't understand how he's not. Inspector Deck from Wu-Tang. A bomb atomic league. Socrates' philosophies or hypotheses can't define how I be dropping these mockeries. Lyrically perform on. How is he not on a top 50 best New York rappers list with that verse? That verse alone puts him in a top 50 category of when you talk about MCs. That verse alone puts him in there. sales, all that. I don't care. None of that matters. When you talking about 50 people, you got to come up with. He's not on there with that verse. That's a top 10 verse in hip hop history. AZ's Life a Bitch is a top 10 verse. Inspector Deck's verse on Triumph is a top 10 verse in hip hop history, as far as I'm concerned. And the number one biggest thing why I cannot respect this list, the number one person that should have been on top 50 fucking rappers in New York. Maybe the Joker ain't number one. Maybe he ain't number 7. He might not even be number 29. Even he might have to be 50, even if he's number 50. You know what I'm saying? Which I put him way higher than that. But even if he was number 50, I would be cool with that just to see him on this goddamn list. Papoose. How do you not got Papoose on a top 50 best MCs of all time from New York list? Papoose. Have you ever heard Papoose rap? Have you ever sat down and listened to Papoose's mixtapes? There was a time when Papoose, I was feeling like Papoose was the greatest rapper of all time. Like what, 2010ish, probably around that era, I think it was. I was such an Uncle Murder fan. Uncle Murder was my favorite rapper back then. It still was one of my favorite rappers. I got mad at Uncle Murder when the whole thing with the Whack 100 thing and the game came to New York with the Brooklyn when they was beefing with Meek Mill. So that made me lose a little bit of thing for Uncle Murder. But overall, that Uncle Murder is one of my favorite rappers. You know what I'm saying? So I was messing with Uncle Murder so tough that him and Papoose beefing kind of backed me off Papoose a little tiny bit, but not to the point of respecting Papoose's pen. You know what I'm saying? Not to the point of like none of that. I was just like, damn, I fuck with Uncle Murder so tough that it was like, you know how that goes, especially when you young, you all wrapped up and all that stuff. I was the number one Uncle Murder fan probably in the goddamn world, to tell you the truth. When I discovered Uncle Murder, everything changed for me. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as hip hop, when I discovered Uncle Murder's mixtapes, I was listening to Uncle Murder nonstop, only Uncle Murder for I don't know how goddamn long. Still got the mixtapes, all the old stuff. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, Papoose should be on a top 50 list. And I'm not even being selfish because I'm talking about a top 50 of all time best. They're talking about rapper, MC, stuff like that. I differentiate what I consider my favorite MCs in the top, like my top 5 list and my top 10 list of best rappers is different than my top 10 or top 5 favorite rappers. You know what I'm saying? That's two totally different things. I'm not selfish enough to put my favorites that I feel like they're supposed to be the best on the best list because I know it ain't like that. You know what I mean? Uncle Murder is definitely one of my top 10 favorite rappers of all time. But I wouldn't probably put him in the top 5 rapper, the best, greatest MCs list. You know what I'm saying? Because he don't fit that. He don't fit the. Uncle Murder for me is all sonic. You know what I'm saying? Along with some of the stuff you be saying, he's creative, he's witty, he got lyrics. But it's about the mood they put you in. You know what I'm saying? It's about how he make you feel, the vibe you just the whole the pocket you just go into when you vibing with certain music. Like me, I'm a huge Chopped and Screw fan. You know what I'm saying? And I'm from the East Coast. I'm the only goddamn person I probably know that likes Chopped and Screwed. I think for real. Maybe one other person, 1 or 2 people, and they might like 1 or 2 songs. But I'm a diehard Chopped and Screwed fan. There's nothing to do with lyricism. It's about the vibe. You know what I'm saying? The sonic, the feeling of it, the mood it puts you in. So like I said, when I'm talking about my favorites, that's not interchangeable with the best. So I'm not looking at it like that. So long story short, like I said, AZ just for his verse for Life's a Bitch. Inspector Deck just for his verse on Triumph. And Papoose for his fucking whole body of work. You know what I'm saying? Should definitely be in the top fucking 50 list of New York City rappers. Like, give me a goddamn break for real. You got some of the jokers on there. I'm not even going to go into some of the people that's on there that shouldn't be on there. I'm just saying some of the people that are on there, you don't got Papoose, AZ, and Inspector Deck on there. I'm keeping it surface. I'm on the. I'm just keeping it simple on the side. I ain't going. I'm not diving in. You dare me to sit here, Joker? I'll dive into this goddamn list. We'll be here for 2, 3, 4 hours straight. You know what I'm saying? I could really go into this goddamn list, but I'm not. It's not. I'm not doing all that. So I just cut it short, sweet, and simple. You know what I'm saying? Those three people should have been on this goddamn list for sure. Then I could, of course, go to people like Buckshot Shorty. You know what I'm saying? Should have definitely been on the list. Legendary. You know what I'm saying? Um, Other people, I could sit here if I think hard enough. I mean, there's a lot of people that I thought I just liked from back in the day. At least that could be on there. But Buckshot Shorty definitely should have been. Let's go ahead and say this is a four issues I got. Buckshot should have been in there definitely. We too often, too easily forget Buckshot's contribution to hip hop, coming in with that Brooklyn stuff. You know what I'm saying? Coming in with that whole, the look, the whole demeanor, the whole wave they brought in, the boot camp clique, Smith and Wesson, Buckshot. It's easy to forget certain stuff of certain people because so many things have happened in the world. We're so conditioned to what's going on now, and just stuff goes so quick and just changes so fast. So much stuff. Sometimes even like Lauryn Hill, I seen her on the thing yesterday when Nas on the hip hop thing, the 50th anniversary. I didn't even see the whole thing, but I saw a little part of that, and I was like, damn, I forgot how tough. Let me see this goddamn list. Is Lauryn Hill on this list? Let me check. Let me check this fucking list, man. Let me look at this thing real quick. Lauryn Hill better be on this goddamn list. She's not from New York though. She's from Jersey. So I guess we can't really go too crazy if she's not. Yeah, Lauren, she's from Jersey, so I can't really sit here and get hyped up because she is not from New York. She's from Jersey. They really should. They should have just did a East Coast, a Northeast list. You know what I mean? Because it just leaves. It's because you can't really do a Philly's top 50 Pennsylvania list, and you got Philly in there. Because if you come up with 50 greatest rappers from Philly, I'm sure Philly is full of lyricists. You know what I'm saying? All kind of people. But to have 50 jokers on there from Philly, most of them will be people that you don't know. You know what I'm saying? It'll be a list that's just like, who are these people? No matter how hot they was, Philly don't have that many successful rappers that really made it that high, like to the point where everybody knew who they are. Like unless you're really on some hip hop stuff, in tuned in the streets, on some backpacker type. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust me, they're there, but it'd be hard to name 50. So I think they should have put Philly on this list along with Jersey. Same thing with Jersey. 50 rap, like there's definitely some hardcore MCs from Jersey, but to come up with 50 just from Jersey, it wouldn't even look right. There'd be so many people on there you wouldn't even know who the hell it wouldn't even. So they should have included Philly, Jersey, the whole and the Northeast, even Boston, Benzino and them, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like that area could have been on here. So I think they should have just did a whole Northeast region list instead of just New York because it cuts a lot of people out. Yeah, I kind of ran it on longer than I expected with this thing, man. But I don't even get worked up on this stuff no more. Like I don't. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? None of these companies got nobody that's really from the culture working there. Like, so it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But that's about it.